Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is Saturday, May 25th, Major League Baseball. Thursday's games are what we're recapping here. Friday hasn't happened yet. Did not have a show on Thursday, so no free show pick. Of course, no, the game's already happened by the time you're watching this, but the free show pick that we gave out for Friday was the Blue Jays. We grade everything here using sharp book rules, meaning that because the Tigers changed their pitcher, that's going to be technically a push. Hopefully the Blue Jays win. Most people aren't playing at sharp books that are watching this. Most of your domestics are action regardless. But you can find those options. And we tend to recommend most games picking listed pitchers. If you can find that, you can do that on FanDuel easily. You can find it on Caesars pretty easily. I'm not as familiar with some of their books because I've been limited there too quickly at other places to find that. So I can't necessarily speak to how easy it is to find it at every single book. But your sharp books are default to listed pitchers. That's how we operate here. So it'll be a push. Hopefully the Blue Jays win. Hopefully you got it at a good price. This is what happened in the morning, even before we got that news. Exactly what I said would happen, what I thought would happen, which was minus 105 was a pretty good price on the Blue Jays. It would get out higher and saw minus 115, minus 120, minus 125 in the morning. So we got us a good price there on it, and the change of pitchers, hopefully it still works out for us. But Thursday, you got the play of the day. Again, it has been rocking and rolling. So if you want that play of the day, you can get that as part of the full service package over on Dub Club or just the play of the day package, either one. But you don't want to miss out on that. The play of the day is just continuing to look really good after a couple of terrible weeks in April, getting back to the standard that if you've been here for any time, you know that you come to expect from us with our plays of the day being usually so strong. Otherwise, nothing really to report here. It's so interesting to me that, the last 3 weeks in here since we changed up a little bit how we, I say a lot, how we decided to decipher the grades and get something I think is more understandable and easy to digest here. Which is always my goal, to make it easier to understand. It's so interesting to me. It's just kind of like ho-hum chugging along at a small profit since then. If you add up all those units there, you're at like plus 3.5 units or something, which 3.5 units in 2.5 weeks. I mean, like, that's kind of what you're hoping for from the model. And what I mean by that is, like, obviously, like, more profit's better, but like, finding a model threshold where we don't do any inputs whatsoever and have like a 10% ROI or something insane like that is unlikely to be sustainable. It's fun to happen, but like when it happens, you're kind of sitting there going like, there's some good variance involved, it's coming back. And so I'm so used to just being like, yeah, it's done great, but like, it's probably a little bit of good variance. Like we love the good variance, right? But it's not going to be this good, or it's bad. It's like, hey, it's bad variance, it'll be good. So it's kind of weird when it's like just ho-hum chugging along. That's kind of what we've had here in May, is that the best model picks have been very solid. I mean, they're not all going to win, but on average, they lead us in the right direction. That's what the model's here to help us do. The A grades are the specific subset of the B grades that I like the most. That's what gets that A grade designation. We've got one here for you on this show that hopefully doesn't become a push based off of like what we talked about with Toronto. Again, if you want all the A grade plays, the play of the day, Discord chat, more picks, all sorts of information, predictions, summaries, details, all that's available on Dub Club. That first sign up link in the show description. Or if you want just the play of the day, just kind of package of just that is also available. Check that out if you have not yet. We really appreciate your support if you're over there with us. And again, some reminders, pickswiththeprofessor.com/new. That'll get you some information about the model and the community. Weather is subject to change. We are 24-ish hours ahead of time when recording this. Before these games, a little bit less for the day games, a bit more for the night games. We are projecting an average game, one game. Anything can happen. Weird results will happen in one game. We are talking about long-term thinking, probabilistic thinking. Many people may not remember this from your elementary statistics course, but again, one of the things we teach when we teach probability is that the definition of probability is a long-term idea. It is as n approaches infinity. Now, of course, we don't have an infinite number of games, but as long as our probability theory is correct with the model, which we believe it is, that will help us to ensure that we are long-term profitable, because we know what prices make for good bets. The idea being, when we say a team wins 55% of the time, they will win 11 and they will lose 9 every 20 games. And of course, every 20 may be 12-8 or 10-10 or whatever. But in the long run, out of every 2,000, it's going to be 1,100 wins and 900 losses, something really close to that. And so if we're playing good prices, those 1,100 wins are going to get us more money than 900 losses. It's not sexy. It's not going to hit the lottery. If you're looking for the lottery, take some of the best picks and parlay them, do whatever you do. But that's not predictable, easy to figure out system how to hit the lottery, right? I don't know how to hit the lottery. If I knew how to hit the lottery, I'd just go win the lottery, right? We're talking about slow and steady profit, trying to make sure that you increase your bankroll every month and not decrease it. Don't have to reload your bankroll. I'm trying to help you be a smarter, better. That's why you're here. That's why we say anything is a good bet if it's the right price or the right number. We just got to know what that is. But as always, of course, take what you like and leave the rest. Last but not least, if you could like the show, we would like that. We'll start off with the Blue Jays and the Tigers here on Saturday afternoon, 1:10 p.m. Eastern. Upper 70s. Strong wind, 10 to 15 miles an hour, maybe even up to 20 miles an hour, blowing a little bit across the start and then shifting as the game goes along out. We're going to check the weather on this, check the wind on this one, because this is a wind that's going to matter. If it does stay like it's forecasted, where it slowly shifts to being more out to left field, that's going to make this a pretty hitter-friendly afternoon whenever that shift happens, whether it's in the fourth inning or the sixth inning. So the closer we get, the more we'll know. But it's going to turn from, maybe slightly hitter-friendly, nice day, ball carrying in the day sort of thing, to wind blowing out might be very hitter-friendly by the end of the game. So something to keep in mind here. Definitely a situation where if I'm going under, I'm looking first five. If I'm going over, I'm going full game. If the wind pattern holds, something again to check back in as you get closer. And again, I will provide that update for you so that you'll be able to see all this over on Dub Club, so you don't have to do that homework yourself if you're with us over there. Jose Barrios and Reese Olson. Barrios, I don't know what else to say about him at this point. What I've been preaching, which is when he's been terrible, he was never as bad as he looked, and he's looked awesome, and he's not as good as he's looked either. 2.98 ERA is really good, but the 4.14 xFIP, he's very solid. He's always been a solid pitcher. He's just one that gets really lucky or unlucky, it seems, with ERA. But he's still been the same guy the whole time. It's just been sometimes runs happen, and it hasn't really been him doing much different. He's been about the same guy. So I would say good, not great. Reese Olson's a guy I've been high on since he came up. The model says these two pitchers are pretty even. Olson's ERA is better this year. Some of the metrics are slightly better this year, but him being a younger guy, Barrios having a track record of being pretty solid is kind of balancing that out. Two solid pitchers really here for the most part. Blue Jays offense has struggled, as we know, this season. Tigers offense also not very good. Bullpen wise, not really a fan of either one of them. No line on this one as of yet because we don't have a starting pitcher for one of these teams, I guess. I don't know. I feel like everything we've seen has been Barrios and Olson, so I'm not really sure why there's no line on it, but we've got it basically 50-50 here. Pretty similar starting pitching. Blue Jays offense a little bit better, not by much on the road. Pretty 50-50 game. So good enough plus odds on either side might be worth an investment. Giants and the Mets, upper 70s in New York. Wind a little bit across, a little bit out as the end of the game. Similar situation to Detroit. Going to want to check back on the weather and see. It's still going to be pitcher friendly. The only question is how pitcher friendly. If the wind stays more across, it'll still be fairly pitcher friendly. As the wind blows out to left field, it'll start to play a little bit more neutral, kind of balancing out where you still might end up with some of that large foul territory coming into play there, but also more likely to home runs with the wind blowing out. So fairly warm day also for that ballpark. So it's going to kind of all be balanced out. Just definitely want to check out in the morning to see what that wind's doing, to see exactly how pitcher friendly it is. Jordan Hicks and Luis Severino, pair of righties here. Hicks, not as good as that 2.38 ERA, but a guy I've liked it back and have thought it's been pretty solid, pretty underrated by the market. 3.99 xFIP is very respectable. That gets him a 94 grade. Severino's about a full standard deviation behind him. Does have a 3.48 ERA that is deflated by pitching in what might be the second best pitcher's park in baseball at this point in Citi Field. His xFIP of 4.18 is a little bit more discouraging. He projects a little bit worse than that because he wasn't as good last year. He's turned things around a little bit and has been better. I'm not sure it's by as much as his ERA, though. I think he's solid. I think he's good enough to be a major league starter. I think he's going to have some good results in that ballpark. I'm not sure he's better than average. He might be a little better than the model thinks, but not by much at this point. Again, I think that ERA is a little bit misleading for both these guys. It's just the difference is that Hicks's ERA is that much lower. So if you're misleading at 2.38 ERA, that's very different than being misleading at a 3.48 ERA. So Hicks the better pitcher here according to the model. Both these offenses very ho-hum. Both sets of relievers pretty solid, although we've seen a lot of variance from both, to be completely honest. We have the Giants winning this game 52% of the time. The market says only 48% of the time. So this is our favorite, the wrong team favored game. And we're going to give you here a grade pick on the Giants plus 103. I think the Giants should be slight favorites in this one. I think Jordan Hicks is the better pitcher by enough to say that I feel confident in them. And really my reasoning for this also has to do with the fact that, like I said, relievers and offense, honestly, if you flip them all around, I can't see much difference. I know that Diaz has struggled as of late. That's only a point to the Giants, but he's obviously a very good pitcher. Doval's a really good pitcher. The depth guys for the Mets, I would have said, were a little bit better at this point from what I've seen, but the model likes the depth guys from the Giants. Offensively, maybe a slightly into the Mets. Both these offenses have had times. I think the Giants actually rate better this year so far. They've just been so up and down. Bottom line, all the players on these teams, starting pitchers aside, I couldn't tell you who's better, who's worse, anything, because I don't know what I'm going to get. It's not like it's, the Astros versus the White Sox here, or I say the Astros because I'm used to them being good, or the Yankees versus the White Sox here. Consider the Yankees are playing really well this year. It's all just kind of a crapshoot with regards to these players. And so then you look at starting pitchers and say, I'd much rather back Jordan Hicks here. I know they're on the road, but plus odds backing Jordan Hicks against Severino, who I think is a good story, but I'm not sure he's quite as good again as the narrative indicates. Giants plus 103, I think, makes a lot of sense. A great pick for you here on this Saturday afternoon. Rangers and the Twins, 2:10 p.m. Eastern. Low 70s in Minnesota. Slight breeze, strong breeze blowing out or across. Again, another one we're going to check the weather. So far, 3 for 3 on check back on the weather games because we're talking 15-mile-an-hour winds. And if it's out to left, going to make this part play pretty hitter friendly. If it's across to left, going to play pretty neutral. And so that's going to be a very subtle distinction that's going to matter here if you're a totals better. If you're not a totals better, you're focused on these pitchers, Michael Lorenzen and Chris Paddock. Lorenzen's ERA is about a full run better, but when you look at the underlying metrics, it's Paddock who grades out as the better pitcher. Again, looking under the hood. And so the Twins definitely have better relievers than the Rangers. The model is still holding out hope that the Rangers relievers are okay despite their subpar performance this year. Offensively, what I've been saying all season about both these two teams and a bunch of teams in baseball, just kind of meh. The Twins at least being healthier now bodes better, but just kind of run of the mill. And kind of like I said in the last game, this really boils down to the starting pitchers. The difference is I think the market's got this right. Whereas Paddock's the starting pitcher who's better, plus the Twins are at home. They should be favored by a little bit more than home field advantage. And lo and behold, they are favored by a little bit more than home field advantage. Model says it should be priced at minus 123. You could get minus 123. That would be a break-even expected value play according to the model. It's Twins or pass for me, but the value isn't good enough to play it, at least as of right now. Totals pretty close as well. Maybe there's first 5 opportunity for us here later, but at least full game right now. Not great value according to Sideline. 2:10 p.m. Eastern, this just broke as I was going to record, and I did not want to go back and change the slides because we're already running later in the afternoon than I need to be. I got to go get the little one from daycare here so we can have dinner at a reasonable hour. Dean Krimmer was just placed on the injured list, and so he will not be pitching for the Orioles. I have no idea who's going to go for the Orioles. I looked into this to see if I could get a guess. They already were down a guy, and I assumed it was going to be Cole Irvin taking that spot. Irvin isn't going to be able to pitch on Saturday, I would assume, as he threw enough pitches recently that I would assume he would be the guy that slotted on Monday. Fangraphs threw out Albert Suarez. He's started for him in the past, but he threw a couple days ago. I'm not sure if they're going to go with him. They also just called up Jonathan Heasley, who started in the past as well, but he threw a bunch of pitches. I don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to find somebody from AAA, just go bullpen. I don't know what the Orioles are going to do. They're the much better team. They should be favored. But again, it's hard to say too much about this knowing that they will have a different starting pitcher than that. Well, I will say Eric Fetty, 3.10 ERA. He's not that good, but he's actually not that bad. He's one of the stronger starting pitchers. Underlying metrics put him more in the average category. The model's still skeptical based off of last season. We talk about on average, we have a good idea of how to approach that, how to make sure we don't overreact. But so far, he's pitched well enough that he's better than that 110 grade. But again, we have seen many times a pitcher have 60 innings where he's pitched better and then things kind of revert back to normal. So we're not overreacting necessarily to that. But he's pitched better than this. And he's a guy I'm not running to fade as much as we love to fade the White Sox. Fetty's been pretty solid. But again, that'll probably change what you're seeing on screen because of the fact that Dean Krimmer won't be the guy pitching. To the 4 p.m. Eastern games, Braves and the Pirates, low 80s start, upper 70s to close. Another weather game to check out with regards to the wind, maybe out, maybe across, about 10 miles an hour. It's going to matter with regards to does this play kind of hitter friendly or very hitter friendly. The warmer temperatures, if the wind's blowing across, going to make it play kind of hitter friendly. If the wind's blowing out to left field at 10 to 15 miles an hour, it's going to become a pretty hitter friendly situation. Ronaldo Lopez and Mitch Keller, I've been touting Ronaldo Lopez all season. I love the guy. He's not as good as that 154 ERA, but his underlying metrics are very solid. He is a very good starting pitcher. Mitch Keller looks pretty solid at this point, looks to be mostly back from some concerns that we had. In his 10 starts, 384 ERA, and the underlying metrics, FIP and XFIP, both line up with that. Seems like he's recovered from some of the down velocity issues, the issues where he faded at the end of last year. Maybe not quite as good as he looked at times, but still a very solid pitcher here for the Pirates. Unfortunately for the Pirates, they don't have a whole lot else going for them other than a couple of good starting pitchers. Obviously, Jerry Jones has been great in Skeens. Everyone knows about him. But offensively, they don't look very good. The bullpen looks meh. The Braves are a really good team, and the Braves should be favored in this game. Of course, they are. We're a little bit higher than the market. We think they win 61% of the time. Not enough value to run and play them, but it's Braves or pass, if nothing else. Mariners and the Nats, warm one in Washington, going to play very hitter-friendly, mid-80s for this one. The wind will be blowing out to left field at about 10 miles an hour, expecting a lot of runs. No line available on this one for right now. Again, similar situation as to one of the ones earlier. I'm not really sure why. Everything I've seen does seem to confirm Logan Gilbert and Trevor Williams, so we seem to know the pitchers. We just don't have a line yet. Washington's offense, again, the model's not high on. Shockingly, the model's not high on the Mariners' bullpen, which has been a strength for them for so long. Logan Gilbert's the better pitcher between these two, but Trevor Williams is definitely going the right direction. We talked about him before. He's a guy who, changing up his pitch usage a little bit, adding a slurve. I think not the slurve, sweeper, I guess is what it was. If I remember correctly, the only concern I have with Trevor Williams, everything's been looking great for him, right? If you're a Nats fan, you're thrilled with him. If you're a team looking to buy low on a buy on a starting pitcher here at the deadline, you're looking at a guy like Trevor Williams. 2.35 ERA, that's great. The xFIP at 4.04 does indicate some potential regression. If he continues to pitch at that 4.04 level, his ERA will rise and he will become closer to league average. I think he's better than that 1.08. The question is just by how much. And if you are more of a FIP than an XFIP guy, you'd say by a decent bit. I'm more of an XFIP guy. I think it tends to be a little more predictive. But in general, I think maybe averaging was probably a better approach along with some other more complicated techniques. So in this case, so far so good, moving in the right direction. But I still have Gilbert as the better pitcher here. The track record matters a lot. But again, I'm not running to fade Trevor Williams because he's a guy who gets better and better by the start according to the model, and we're just trying to figure out how to adjust. We just don't want to overreact because if we overreact, maybe we should be overreacting for him. But if I code in the model to do that, we're going to overreact in a lot of situations that we shouldn't. So I'm just not running to fade Trevor Williams, I guess is the bottom line. We've got the Mariners winning this 56% of the time in the total, about 9.5. Again, expecting a lot of runs in what's going to be a very hitter-friendly afternoon. Astros and the A's, 4 p.m. Eastern here, 1 p.m. local start. Upper 50s, wind will be blowing out about 15 miles an hour. Still going to play fairly pitcher-friendly, closer to neutral than normal, though, with the wind blowing out in the daytime, the ball carrying a little bit better, so closer to a normal park than it would at a night game. Spencer Arrighetti and J.P. Sears. Arrighetti looking more decent as of late. Underlying metrics looking very okay. It's really the best I could say. Still worse than usual, worse than average, I would say, not usual, worse than average. But 415 xFIP's not bad. So he's actually showing a little bit of the maybe he could hang around and be a fourth starter. He's not good by any stretch of the imagination, but at least what we've seen of him lately, he at least looks competent. JP Sears struggling this year, going the wrong direction with regards to his grade. 4.31 ERA, that's not good in that park. That's very, very pitcher-friendly ballpark there in Oakland. FIP of 461, xFIP of 478. I mean, that's not good. So there's a decent chance that you might actually rather have Arrighetti in this match. You definitely rather have the Astros offense. Relievers are both good. It's been the strength for the A's here, other than maybe a couple of recent games where it's been a little bit more questionable. We get the Astros winning this 60% of the time. It's definitely Astros are past. The value is not great at this point, but I definitely don't want any part of JP Sears. And again, Arrighetti's looked decent enough that maybe you could back him. Total looks to be spot on according to the model. Royals and the Rays, Brady Singer and Aaron Savali. Love Singer, love what he's done. Definitely think he's back. Been praising him all season long. 270 ERA, underlying metrics just slightly higher than that. Going in the right direction. Nothing bad to say about him. Otherwise, again, as I mentioned, the Royals, the starting pitching is where it's at. He's one of them that's been fantastic. And against a team like the Rays, they definitely have a chance here on the road. Aaron Savali's nothing special. He's not as bad as that 5.92 ERA. XFIP's at 3.73. He's been a little bit unlucky. So he's not a bad pitcher. He's not terrible. But Singer's the better pitcher here. And the Royals bullpen's probably better because this Rays bullpen has been just dreadful this year. And again, shockingly, the last season and a half now been the weakness of the Rays. The offense has carried up. It's been hurt. Being a little more healthy now helps. But again, going up against a guy like Brady Singer isn't ideal. The model says the Royals win this 48% of the time. The market says 46%. Again, same situation as a couple of these games. The value is not there for me to run and back the Royals, but it's Royals or pass because we've got them winning at 2% more than the market does. Another game with the total looks to be pretty accurate. Brewers and the Red Sox, the last of the 4 p.m. afternoon games, low 70s. Wind a little bit in, a little bit out, a little bit across, a little bit kind of all over the place. Really just talking about a hitter-friendly ballpark where there's, again, as we always talk about, high variance with regards to the number of runs because of the way that park plays. Colin Ray and Nick Pivetta. Colin Ray's a guy I've been fading here as of recently. Said he wasn't as good as that shiny ERA. Sure enough, his ERA is now up in the 4s as we predicted. Underlying metrics say it might still actually have room to get higher, that he still overall looks better on the ERA than he is. He's not a good pitcher. Nick Pivetta, 3.04 ERA. Depending on which underlying metric you like more, you might think more or less of him. I think he's still a pretty solid pitcher, though. But again, mixed results in the underlying metrics, but he's definitely the better pitcher between these two. Otherwise, these two teams are pretty similar. Offensively, there's not a huge difference between them. Bullpen-wise, not really a huge difference. Again, the big difference here is Nick Pivetta being the better starting pitcher at home. We've got the Red Sox winning this 56% of the time. The market says 58%. The model would say there's edge in the Brewers. I'm not running to back the Brewers, though, to back Colin Ray against Nick Pivetta. I would need big plus odds, need a big payout. Right now, the payout at plus 132 is not good enough. So I'd be looking to pass on this one. Maybe there's an opportunity in the first 5 market when it comes out. We'll see about that in the morning. Total wise, we'd be looking at the over, but I'm not running back over 9.5 either. Over 9 would make a lot of sense, especially for a daytime game in Fenway where the ball might fly. But I'd rather play an alt total over and have some fun with it rather than play over 9.5. But it would be a game where I could not go under 9.5. As much as it's fun to go under a number like 9.5, this is not the situation for it, in my opinion. Cubs and the Cardinals, mid-70s to start, 7 p.m. Eastern. Going to finish up more in the upper 60s. Slight breeze in, maybe a little bit across. Going to play probably a little pitcher-friendly. Jameson Taillon and Matthew Liberatore. We have not confirmed on this one. The starting pitcher for the Cardinals, just throwing out Liberatore for him. He's been a guy who's been in the bullpen, been a bulk guy, been a long guy, been a little bit of everything. If it is him, I'm not overly high on him. He's probably better than his ERA, but he's still not good. Taillon's a guy who is all smoke and mirrors with regards to that 2.20 ERA. I know there's probably some Cubs fans watching this. I'm a big believer in a guy like Ben Brown. I'm glad he's back, maybe starting a little bit. I wish they'd have let him go a little bit longer. Hopefully they get him stretched out because I'm definitely a believer in him. I'm not a believer in Taillon. 470 FIP, 466 XFIP. He is, if he continues to pitch like this, going to get hit. The issue is the Cardinals' offense hasn't been very good. And so maybe he'll have some more success here on this Saturday night against the Cardinals. But in the long run, I'm not high on Taillon. And I think he's probably ripe to fade. I'm just not sure he's ripe to fade against this Cardinals team. We'll find out when there's a price on this one again in the starting pitcher confirmation for the Cardinals. But if it is Liberatore / a bullpen game, we'd have the Cardinals as slight favorites in a game where we're expecting maybe 8.5-ish for the total. Dodgers and the Reds, the other game at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. About 80 degrees to start, low 70s to close. Slight breeze blowing out, going to make a hitter-friendly ballpark play even more hitter-friendly. Walker Buehler and Hunter Green. Buehler, mixed bag so far, but his last start looked really good. Versus his first 2 starts, which are questionable. So, especially as someone who has him in a fantasy, holding my breath, maybe we're finally back to the Walker Buehler of old. It's only 1 start, so you don't want to overreact, but also, you have reason to think that maybe the first start's, just getting back in the groove of things, that 1 start might hold a little bit more weight than 1 start for anybody else. He's obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball if he can get back to that level consistently. Hunter Green, I'm high on. Not as good as that 3.22 ERA, though. And The xFIP of 4 indicates, again, he's been pretty lucky with the home run ball. Against the Dodgers, in that park, on a warmish night, wind blowing out a little bit, going to be right for some home runs. So again, some of that home run luck's probably going to come back to bite him here at some point. This might be the opportunity for it. Otherwise, the Dodgers are the better team. Again, the Dodgers bullpen still doesn't grade out very well according to the model, especially without Evan Phillips. But again, they're kind of a unique situation with how many starting pitchers they use and how they can use their guys, that I don't think something the model can really handle well because it's so unique. We've got the Dodgers winning this 58% of the time. The market is 59%, so it's pretty spot on. Market total is 9. We're more in the 9.5 range. The biggest question here about the total is how you feel about these two starting pitchers. I like Buehler. I like Green. I think Buehler's got a lot of potential here to get back to his old form. So you're kind of battling these are good pitchers versus header-friendly ballpark there with regards to if you can pull the trigger on that over. Phillies and the Rockies, 9:10 p.m. Eastern, upper 50s, wind blowing across. It's going to make Coors Field play a little bit less hitter-friendly than usual. We still have not gotten into the games at Coors where we're expecting 12, 13 type runs in it. Aaron Nola and Dakota Hudson. The only concern you have for Nola and that you've had for the last year has been the fact that he's been a little bit home run prone. And that can come back to bite you at Coors Field. That said, I mean, he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball. We've talked about this Phillies team. They're never going to lose again. I don't know what else there is to say about him. Dakota Hudson, 5.89 ERA. The underlying metrics align with that. He's not good. And this Phillies offense that continues to hum along with a very strong top of the lineup there should score some runs off of him. If they don't, they should score runs off the bullpen. I mean, this Phillies team is really good. The Rockies aren't. The only thing I will say to caveat is the Rockies do have one of the best home field advantages in baseball. I think the Phillies are priced probably still a little bit too high to really like backing them. In that, we've got them winning 68% of the time. The market only says 67, but laying those type of odds at Coors Field is not for me. If I was playing the Phillies, I'd play them run line here. I don't think that's the worst move you can make. There's no run line out right now, so I can't even tell you if I like the price or not, but it's all going to be about the price. My fear is that there might be a little bit of value on the money line from a modeling probability perspective, but everybody and their mom is going to be like, I'm not playing the Phillies on the money line, I'm playing them on the run line, and that run line price might get inflated. That's why I have a model for the run line as well. That information is available to you if you're with us over on Dub Club, and I can tell you what the probability that they cover the run line is, what that price should be, what number we're looking for. That'd be what I'd be eyeing if I was playing the Phillies. Just a big difference depending on what that number is, though. It's going to be a minus, almost assuredly. The only question is a minus what? And that's going to be the question as to if there's any value on the Phillies, because, again, it's a high variance park with a lot of runs, and so you just don't want to be. It's just the one park in baseball that I'm just not ever thrilled about laying big odds because you just never really know what's going to happen with it. But I wouldn't be backing the Rockies here, that's for sure. Aaron Nola is so much better than Dakota Hudson. It's really that simple. We would also be on the under here. The market's at 10.5. We're more at 9.5. We've been on a lot of these Rockies unders so far this season. The weather hasn't been really conducive for overs. The Rockies offense is not conducive for overs. Aaron Nola is a really good pitcher. I'm not saying the under hits, but I sure as heck wouldn't be playing an over. If nothing else, it's under or pass in that one. Guardians and the Angels, 9:38 p.m. Eastern, about 60 degrees for this one. Slight breeze out. I'm going to play pretty normal here, maybe a little bit pitcher friendly, but not by much. Tanner Bybee and Jose Soriano. Bybee, 3.93 ERA, and the underlying metrics align right with that. Very solid pitcher. Soriano, 3.30 ERA. Underlying metrics a little bit higher than that, but also a very solid pitcher. Two strong pitchers here, but that's about where the similarities between these two teams end. The Guardians offense better than the Angels offense, good against righties. If the Guardians against the lefties, a very different story, but against a righty, you like their offense better. They've got the best bullpen in baseball. According to Sideline, the model continues to dislike the Angels bullpen. Unfortunately, we've got the Angels winning this about what the market does. We're at 55%, they're at 54%. Guardians are pass, but not a ton of value. The model would lean over, but I'm never running to back in over 8, especially with the Guardians bullpen involved, although you do love to bet a full game over anytime the Angels bullpen gets involved. So again, Guardians and over or pass, but not a ton of value, at least as of now. But folks, as always, shop around. Make sure you have multiple books in your portfolio. That way you can always save 5 cents, save 10 cents. If they aren't there yet, one of those books should be BetUS. 125% bonus on your first ever 3 deposits. Check them out if you have not yet. The link is in the show description.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
Also at 9:40 p.m. Eastern, Yankees and the Padres. About 60 degrees for this one. Slight breeze blowing in. Going to make a pitcher-friendly ballpark play even more pitcher-friendly. Marcus Stroman and Dylan Cease. 2 guys with identical 3.05 ERAs in 10 starts, but the underlying metrics tell us that Cease is the better pitcher. Not that Stroman's bad. It's just I think Cease is better. Neither one of these bullpens grade out very well. Both offenses do. Surprisingly, the Padres, even without Xander Bogaerts, the offense grades out really well. They just have a lot of power there in that lineup, even without him. We've got the Padres winning this 53% of the time. Market says 52% of the time. I would love to go under 7.5. Not a ton of value on it right now. Both these bullpens are scary, so maybe your first 5 under. We'll have more advice for this one over on Dub Club, but at least for right now, it's looking fairly well priced. But I'll kind of say about this one, similar to what I was saying last time, if you're going to play it, I'd play Padres. If you're going to play the total, I'd be playing the under. Then ramping us up 10:10 p.m. Eastern, Marlins and the Diamondbacks. Fairly warm in Arizona. Going to open the roof on this, according to their website. Upper 70s, about 80 degrees maybe to start, mid 70s to close, slight breeze blowing out. That's warmer than it would be than the air conditioning. It's going to make it play a little bit more hitter friendly than usual. Sixto Sanchez versus Jordan Montgomery. We are not a Sanchez fan at all. 6.41 ERA. He's not that bad, but folks, he ain't good either. Jordan Montgomery is a guy I've been high on for a long time now. Struggled so far this season. 4.98 ERA, and the underlying metrics aren't overly positive, but he's still at least around an average pitcher. Based off what he was last year, the model thinks maybe slightly better than average, but if nothing else, even though he struggled this season, he is the much better starting pitcher. And of course, offensively, there's a big difference here because the Diamondbacks bats are solid at minimum and the Marlins bats aren't. We've got the Diamondbacks winning this 67% of the time. The Marcus is only 62% of the time. It's definitely a play on the Diamondbacks. The question is, how do you want to play it? Do you want to play run line, -1, money line, first 5, and a parlay? How do you want to do it? We have an official recommendation for how to do that over on Dub Club, as we will with every game. And if you're looking for more advice on the leans, the Discord chat is available to everyone who's on our honor roll package, and you can ask me any of these questions about these games, then give you my 2 cents. I'm liking the Diamondbacks, but again, how you play it, either up to you, an official recommendation over on Dub Club. But I could not in good conscience back to Marlins and that offense with Sixto Sanchez. The Diamondbacks have pretty big edges in this one. Again, it's Diamondbacks or pass. But again, if you're looking to join us over on Dub Club on that honor roll package, the all access package, you get everything I can possibly give you and more. That sign up link's in the show description. If you're over there with us already, again, we thank you for your support. If not, we appreciate it if you check it out and see if you're interested. We have a great retention rate. People love all the information we provide. If you're looking for more information, I definitely do my best to give it to you. Otherwise, though, as always, thanks for watching. Best of luck this weekend in your betting. No show for Sunday. We'll be back on Monday. And as always, please remember that you can eat your betting money, but please do not bet your eating money.